So here we go. I've got a story for you. A trans guy takes on the church where he was doing a ministry called Queering Sacred Spaces. Doing ministry with queer folk on the street, at Pride, at Trans Day of Remembrance, and trying to change the church from within. Even after many years of being separated because of dogmatic conflicts. The church and institution slow to reform and change into an emergence of a new thought, a new interpretation. The church threw him out because of a hint of sexual misconduct with a parishioner. He did not know that when the church affirmed his ministry that any queer person was considered a follower, an untouchable. But the name, the ministry called Queering Sacred Spaces, was uncomfortable to the church's rulebook of wrong and right. The rulebook that said that love and sex is restricted to marriage between a man and a woman. That anything outside that was immoral and unbecoming of a Christian man. For they thought he was one of them, the righteous, the judge, the jury. He chose not to go down, not to be suppressed by the church he had longed for affirmation from his birth. Feeling as though their righteousness was the blessing he needed to become whole and complete. He chose not to burn inside the church in its judgment. He is a man who only knew love, not concepts of immorality and confinement. And this is the part that's hard to read. But there's got to be a transition here, so I know that. So transition here somehow, some way. For as she caressed his body, affirming his embodiment, she stirred the coals of the fire that burned deep in his belly that had yet been untouched. She told him of the valley that overlooked his soul, the place that overlooked the place Chief Joseph had stood, the place that overlooked the site Chief Joseph had stood, overlooking his people, the land of the free. The place where land was not bought or sold, for things could not be bought with the currency of money, for it did not exist, only trade and goodwill. But standing there, a tree, tall and strong, noble and true, like the man he was going to become, standing with his people wondering, will they remember me? For the sins of those people, he would stand. Stand in his power and speak his truth to power, stand in their way, but in the meantime, my people will have their best, the very best he could give. He didn't start waking up until he whispered to Turtle, I think I have a name. I think I know who I am. I think I'm Finn. Voiced reverently and rhetorically like a question, asked to the universe, eyes cast down, palms up, voice lifted. Given to him by an internal but unshakable voice that he had carried with him from the first time he was tested by the waters of the Great Snake River. He became a traveler. He pushed off, away from family and friends, away from civilization, meeting his friend Jim further along the way, the one who awakened him. And sail he did down the river, releasing his soul into the wild, in the wilderness, in the way of the wilderness, where he practiced the skills of loving, seeing, hearing, having goodwill, awe, and the one he always forgot. Like clockwork, he took communion on the canyon wall, breaking bread, drinking wine, the bloody body and blood of Christ. Take and eat this blood I've shed for you. Take and eat this body I've given for you. A sinner, a shunned one, an outcast on the street. But there he was. For he still fought the demons placed inside him by the men who wrote the letters to the church of how to be a Christian man. The stories canonized by the patriarchy that wanted to contain and restrict the wild Christian disciple he was. The sun shone on his skin in places that had never been seen. Never seen the beauty contained within, the rising one with the rising sun, coloring the world in its golden hues, bestowing upon him from an ancient land and ancient people, for this was his path. His feet bare and covered in dust and dirt. So he had jumped. He released himself from the 27th floor office that kept him shackled and chained. He was caught by angels' wings, the wings of an angel to carry him home into the wilderness. But the fall was one of release, of finally realizing who he was within, not hidden in a box any longer, trying to pass as a woman, but knowing there was something within that needed to be expressed. He spent 7 years in the wilderness, traveling and going within. He burned all his Bibles, except one, and got rid of most of his religious teachings, liberating himself from the tyranny of the church. When he returned back home, his son was killed in an accident and he fell again. This time the angels were able to help him out of the mud and yuck that covered him. So he emerged again, this time sure of his message and his mission in the world. His name is Phoenix Rakai. He is me. This is a tale of my journey and the path I am currently on, the re-emergence of queering sacred spaces, written as if the narrator is talking to a group of folks around a campfire, seated low and illumined by the flames huddled in the cold. Told low and huddled around the fire with the Wallowa people, where they met their fate of no longer having the freedom to roam their land, wintering for the last time in the winter camp of their mothers and fathers. This is the story of the third born of the land, a man of mission and purpose, a man baptized into the Christian church, where he spent his youth learning the words to the stories of the great I Am, the one who spoke to Moses on the mountaintop, born into the name Deborah. He emerged to make things right in the world. He was born an Iron Man and proved that on the field of battle 3 times, where he was declared victorious in battle over his captors and tormentors, who tried to drag him down into the dungeon they kept in the basement that contained so many smells, and the dark room where his body was laid out on film, part of a laboratory experiment. Where his body was laid out, open, deformed, captured, in the dark recesses of the laboratory his captors and tormentors had prepared. Captured on film, exposed for others' carnal desires. On the table he laid naked and exposed, unseen. Unseen by human eyes, but somewhere he was held, for he was to speak of powerful things. Words of love, words of hope, words of faith, faith in a higher power. Something omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent that would liberate him out of that dark world in which he lived. Out of that darkness in which he lived. That's what I should say. And he also lived in the sunshine, the water, the grass, the trees. He found himself in them, often trying to build a home for himself and his community of beloveds. And then I have a section here that I've crossed out, but I'm going to read it anyways. But for this story, I don't think it belongs in there. Land that didn't belong to anyone, but borders, territories could be established based on what the great tales say. Not a war, but a warning that not all is right in the world. The commonwealth, the common land. What if those weren't war cries, but they were the cries of an impoverished people? The Bible's been misused so many times. So many times. Too many to count. But those words, yeah, they're still holy. In that canyon, a story was told. A man will rise like a phoenix. He will rise and soar amongst the clouds, and our people will be restored. And for his people will be my people. That's what that should say. And his people will be my people. And his people will be my people. The one more human born of the Lamb, who will set the sea towards righteousness and goodness. For he will preach and touch, he will be restored back to the land of the living and the dead. He's had visions of being with Jesus as he taught his disciples, of which he is one. He has learned well his lessons. But he came from the land of milk and honey. He found his song in the bee, the bee buzzing to get out of my ear and into real life, the day-to-day trudge of people. The story of the phoenix who will be reborn as a man in a woman's body, living the embodiment of a woman before he rose from the dead, from out of the darkness. This man has a unique flavor, one of cherry blossoms and sunshine, salt sea air and wind chimes, warmth on his back and strength in his chest. He is rising to become the best man he can be, and for that he climbs out of his hole and begins rearing his head again, for out of ashes he'll rise, dark and dusty, with ash falling from his wings. He was sent here to help them see their failing world. Speak to men as men who sit in their circles, one who speaks of Jesus in a different tongue, who knows the most important of the disciples was Mary Magdalene and his mother Mary. And he feels as though he speaks with Jesus when he's high on the weed. He's wanted to talk to them all his fucking life. And now he's being asked to give up the thing that makes him feel and connect with the Creator, his vehicle for communicating with the Almighty. That might be a personal note. And then I've got the section in there, it's called the Letters to the Church, but I think that's just part of a bigger piece. For you have persecuted me, yet here I stand, a righteous man. You have cut me down piece by piece, taken away my manhood, my essence, my life, my breath. That's a lament. That's a lament. That's a psalm. That's what that is. That's a fucking psalm. That's not a letter to the church. That's a psalm. Psalm 1:1. Fucking A. Am I writing my own Bible? That might be weird. I don't know. Might be taking the Jesus complex just a little too far. I'll never forget meeting Phoenix on that mountaintop in Mexico, in the hut made of stone from the ground, from who stand using the materials that were available, using the natural resources that the Mother Earth, that the Earth Mother has given us. Sometimes one's ministry is to the one, and sometimes one's ministry is to the masses and the messes. Sometimes we're called to walk one path for a while, and sometimes we're called to walk many. All these paths intersect, though no one path is left behind. So who is Phoenix? Here's the Song of the Phoenix. It's another book. So who is Phoenix? He's a gentleman. He's passionate. He speaks up, shares his voice, his love, his abundance, his divinity. All the blessings he has given are the gifts all share, the commonwealth. He's big, he's loud, he has presence, he doesn't cower. He's proud of who he is. He is strong. He overcomes the barriers that he's encountered. He keeps going one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, as each comes. He loves. He loves sunshine. He loves windmills and towering heights. He is beloved. He's loved. Never forgets the path that got him into this moment. He cherishes all those moments, all the beauty, all that is natural and good. He is divine masculine. He is me, my embodiment of all that is divine within. The journey has been one of overcoming ingrained beliefs about wrong and right. Once he thought of himself as cursed by the life he was given, the choices made, regrets of past blocked by institutions, by others' choices to leave and move on to their own paths. But they were all his path. Now he's grateful for all those experiences of being the mother, now the father, the one who's chosen authenticity and growth instead of boxes that constrained him and captured him in a life of containment and tried to pass as someone he's not. He's a real person now. He even has proof of it. In the courts, his name was proclaimed good. In the home, his name was proclaimed good. In the world, his name is proclaimed as good. And he rises. He feels as though he has risen from the dead. His name is Phoenix, risen from the dead. Bold and out loud, singing his affirmation from that which tried to defeat him, make him something other than who he is. A good man, a gentle man, a divine man, standing in the presence of the divine within, the divine beside, the divine above and beneath. His feet are on a path of righteousness, calling for belonging, calling for community, calling all to the table where all are welcome, all belong, all are fed and rejoiced. All is good. Walk with me, talk with me. Share your story and I'll share mine. All the paths, all the ways, they all lead to good, to the truth inside each one of us. Cast out the demons, the despair, the unholy. Walk the path of righteousness, co-creating a life of abundance and peace, co-creating a world where there is no right and wrong way. They are all paths, divinely ordered, divinely manifested. He will be seen fully, authentically, and out loud, for it is good, declared in the beginning, declared daily by the natural world that lives and breathes inside each one of us. The path of righteousness, living in the world unseparated from the good of humankind. All paths are welcome. If you have not found what is yours, keep searching, stay awake and alert, for you will never know when that path that is yours will emerge. That path that will open itself to you, you will be tested. The wilderness time is real. It will test you and try to break you. It will make you falter, but you are not alone. You are accompanied. You will find community, life, song, beauty, abundance. Keep searching. It's all there. We do not live in the dark days. They are false. Walk in the light. Walk in the truth. Walk in the power. And don't forget, you are not alone. Even in the wilderness, you are not alone, for God is within you. God is beside you. God is in the world every day and everything, not separated from you. For God is within, bold, unmistakable in the power of the world. The trees, the rocks, the water, the abundance around you, not possessions to be owned and wasted, but honored and affirmed by the goodness. Step forward, take the next step, stumble and fall. It's okay, it's not the easy path. No one said it was gonna be easy. No one said that. But you are the light of God. The child of light, affirmed at the beginning. Breathe it in, don't let it go. Be in the presence of yourself, the divine. You are the essence of life. You are the breath of man. Breathe it in, breathe it out. It is within you and all around you. You don't have to believe. You don't have to follow. Just be. Be in your own presence. You are life. You will rise. You will fall. Others will try to tear you down and have you believe you are not enough. They will try to limit you, have you forget that you are in divine presence all the time. The light shines from within, even in the darkest of days. Light shines from within. Even in the darkness, light shines. You will rise. Be bold. Stand in your light. Be present. Stand in your light. You are the light of God. You are a light in this world. And when we know this, that is the essence of our being. We will not walk in the shadows of the valley, but be born again into our truth, into our power. We will be divine. All that is, it will be part of us. The unrighteous will not speak for us, for we will speak for ourselves. Letting our voice be heard in a chorus of song, rising strong, rising again and again in our glory. The unrighteous will not speak for us, for we will speak for ourselves. Letting our voice be heard in a chorus of song, rising strong again and again in our glory. God is in me. God is in you. We are not separated. We are one. The common good. I am Phoenix Rakai, born of the Lamb. I will rise again. I will be reborn into creation, into the oneness, into the goodness that surrounds us. This is a song of defiance, a song given to me. It is your song, the song of creation. Sing it loud and strong, let it burn within you, even in the darkest days. Let its embers, like a campfire, burn and smolder until it rises again, and do it again and again. Let it rise. Like the sun, do it again and again. It is within you. It surrounds you, above you and beneath you. You are whole, infinite, and complete. You are righteous and holy, unshakable. Stand in your presence. You are divine.